Welcome to our series on communication. This is number 4.
We're no longer in the jungle.
That's right.
As you can tell by the boats behind us, no ocean in the jungle.
That's right. And we are by our favorite fishing boats in our hometown of Sriracha, Thailand. And we got something very important to talk to you about communication, and that is the incompleteness of communication that doesn't cover the entire picture and the entire plan. And a good story to start with was a few years ago, our Victory Tower, in fact, it's just up the road here, the Lethbridge Victory Church had a program, they called it half and half, where they were going to pay for the remaining mortgage of this tower as they raised money for their own renovation. Tremendous plan. Pastor Kirby Lockhart was the pastor at that time, and it was when the news came through, of course, we were elated, absolutely excited, because we didn't know how we were going to pay for this. $250,000, so it was huge. And so I asked our staff, our admin staff, I said, we need to have the final numbers from the bank concerning the mortgage. What is the actual payout number? Not what's remaining, but we need to know the fees and everything like that. And so they get, yeah, we got those, and they looked them up and they gave them to me, and I said, you're sure this is the actual payout number? Yeah. So I went ahead and sent that to Canada, and they sent the money, and wouldn't you know it, $18,000 short. Because
not that they didn't send.
That they didn't send. It was because our number was $18,000 too low, because they didn't actually get the bank number. They actually got what they thought they remembered it to be. And here's the issue. That was such a huge embarrassment, as you can imagine, because then it's me that's got to go back to Pastor Kirby and the board at the church and say, you know what, we need 18,000 more, the number we gave you was wrong. Well, how can you trust somebody with $250,000 who can't keep a number straight?
Yeah.
And so it ruins your credibility.
Yeah,
it really does. So we're going to talk about some logistics today.
Yeah, because a lot of people think that communication is about the information that you give, and it is, but it isn't, because if you fail with communication, basically what you're saying is, I'm not able to handle the responsibility that I'm actually looking after or whatever. And so the downside to miscommunication, or the downside to not actually communicating the right stuff, isn't just that it makes it hard for us, it's whatever. It's actually, it shows an incomplete picture, the fact that we're actually not able to handle the responsibility. And a lot of times it's frustrating because you're not the one who's responsible to get that information. You're relying on a team of people to give it to you, and then you have to relay that information, and you have to trust that what you've been given is accurate. And if it's not accurate, like you said, then it just makes you look like you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there's a lot more at stake than just we have the wrong date or we have the wrong number. It's actually a credibility issue, and it goes to the issue of, if you can't be faithful in the small things, how are you going to be faithful in large things? If you can't keep track of the right date, the right time, the right information how are we going to trust you with the things that are, really, really important?
That's it. And the dominoes just get bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
When one falls, the next one's bigger and bigger, and pretty soon you've got such a mess.
Yeah.
And it really does ruin your credibility.
Yeah. So the issue that we're dealing with today, then, talking about that story and the whole effects of poor communication, or not communicating the right thing, or being lazy in getting your information, is what is it that we actually need to communicate, and how often do we need to communicate it? Because a lot of times we think the communication is an idea, right? Let's go do this thing, let's do this church plant. But it's actually more than just an idea, and it's more than information. It's actually the complete process, right? It's not, we're going to go plant a church here. It's, what day are we going to go? Who are the teams that are going to go? What are the preparation that needs to happen beforehand? What are the steps? Who's responsible for those steps? How are we going to report back to each other? And so it's not just one thing that we're communicating. It's every single step along the way. Communication is about communicating every job, and so it's the job, the tasks, the timeline, and the responsibility.
Right.
The tasks, the timeline, and the responsibility. That is what we have to communicate.
Right. I find too that other things that have happened in the ministry, one particularly recently, was that we had that all in place when we did a certain project. The next time we did a very similar project, that all got thrown out the window, and the project failed. Well, not miserably, but it was really difficult, because you work so hard to put the systems of communication in place, and you get those systems in place. If people disregard the system, it's actually because they're disregarding the importance of the plan of working together.
Yeah, that's right. So then as a leader, the responsibility is on you to make sure that people are operating inside of the system. And it's a really big job, and sometimes it can feel very frustrating, because people, a lot of times when they're not working in the system, it's not because they're not trying to be a team player. They just think they already know what they're doing, or they think that they have a better way or an easier way, or this way works as well. Why do we have to follow it that way? Well, there's a reason why. It's not just about getting the job done, it's also how you get the job done that's important, right?
That's right.
There's a process, and so when we're talking about communication, the process is super important. So as a team leader or somebody who's in charge, what you have to do is make sure that you communicate the process as well. And it's not enough that you give me the information. I need you to give me this information in this manner, in this way, within this time frame.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a really big job to keep that forefront. And it's something that, like, I think I used to assume that if I just did it once or said it once or people got it once, and the next time they would remember it. And the fact of the matter is, the rule of thumb is they don't. So
That's
just
true.
as somebody who's in charge of an area of ministry, you always have to be the one who shows leadership again and again and again and again and again. And you can't get tired of it. Otherwise, what happens is you put in an opportunity for there to be miscommunication or for the process to be short-streamed.
Yeah, that's right. And we just got back from the jungle. Well, you got back today?
Yesterday,
last night?
yes.
And the word on the street in the ministry is you were gone too long.
Way too long.
And that's part of the issue, is because the communication, we tend to want to rely on somebody else and make it their responsibility, make it the leader's responsibility to take care of all of this so that everybody knows what's going on and everything, the peace happens. I think a deeper aspect of that, communicating the entire plan, and it's the process that matters, not just the information, is because everything that we do is to build disciples.
Yeah,
it's to develop people. And if we are not successfully developing people who can do what we do when we're not here, then we haven't won.
Yeah.
And so we've got to have everything in place and look at that as an end goal, and that's really what we're trying to accomplish, is that we could go away for 6 weeks, and the people will be comfortable knowing how to communicate and knowing how to, and actually things went very well as far as we know. We haven't,
I haven't met with anybody yet on the team,
so things are good.
Great.
But the place was still here.
Yes,
so thank God for that.
Yeah, we have great people on our team. So
Yeah, we
but
really
the point
do.
of that is keep the pressure on. Keep the pressure on people. You give them a responsibility. It's their job to fulfill it. Keep the pressure on them to communicate the right way. A lot of times now, if somebody comes back to me and it's not in the way that we've agreed on, I'll say, this is not what we've agreed on, or I'm expecting it in this format, or this isn't the right way to do it. It's our job to keep the pressure on people to do the right way, to do it the right way, so that, we're not recreating a problem for ourselves.
Yeah, that's it. So what we would like is your comments wherever down below there, if this is on Facebook or if you're on my blog site, wherever it may be, leave a comment. Any questions you have, we'd love to address it. We've got 2 or 3 more sessions coming up that are very important and significant things that are going to really help you and your ministry with communication. But we also need input too. There's a lot of things that we need help with, and so we're looking to you to give us input. Give us some ideas, give us what works best for you, and some of the most important things that you understand concerning communication. So we'll see you again next week.
Thanks for listening.
Bless you.